Could a man become God because he wished for it? Or does he become God because he demands it? He commands respect. He makes everybody worship him because of the power that he bestow upon the lands. Hey guys, Valtorious the Awoken here. So, Lelouch and Light Yagami, both men have too much in to gain the Gias, and once he gained the power and ordered the soldiers to kill themselves long after he became sick, because it was the first time he ever committed murder despite despite him wanting revenge for years. Further and further the depths of madness Lelouch's mind had to go through in order for him to achieve success and victory. Even after when he killed his sister, Lelouch became the devil himself. The only path of justice is only followed in the path of blood. When you look at Light, it was the same way for him. He wasn't put in a difficult situation like Lelouch, but instead got lucky into finding the Death Note and just dropped right in front of him. He had came on that day, anyone could have picked up the Death Note, but instead it was Light. Once when Light got home, he saw Ryuk for the first time, a Shimigami. Unlike Lelouch, he freaked out across with. Just like when Lelouch was first testing out his Gias on teachers and people he had came across with. Light began killing criminals and even evil people until he crossed the line and started killing detectives and non-evil people in order for him to achieve his dreams on becoming the god of a new world and ridding the world of evil. You could say that both men, to a degree, have narcissism behaviors. When Light's father was on his deathbed and couldn't see correctly, he said to him, "I'm glad that you're not Kira," but if he had the strength to see, he would have saw Kira's name above Light's head. Now let's talk about the betrayals. Light at the end was never betrayed. He simply betrayed the task force and was later found out by Nier. And another similarity between Light and Lelouch used and betrayed everyone, and his friendship with Suzaku cost him everything. Just like Teru Mikami with Light. Only difference was Light probably would have killed Teru Mikami later on if he served him as a problem, and also they wasn't friends. And lastly, Lelouch's whole reason for living was for his sister's sake. He wanted to create a world where she could live in peace without constantly being in fear or at war. So Lelouch's grand plan was to become the enemy of the entire world and have Suzaku kill him as Zero in order to have true peace. Light becoming Kira made people be safe, knowing justice will come to those who live in an injustice world. Kira managed to change and inspire people and gave them hope while others feared him. Light made his dream into a reality for a short time, but eventually died. Light became the devil of a new world by sacrificing friendships and relationships in order to do so. Now, what if Lelouch was in the Death Note universe and he would have taken Ryuk's offer on getting the Shimigami eyes? Now, this is a tricky question because I'll say yes, he would have taken the deal despite knowing his lifespan would be cut short. Light was overconfident in his intelligence and he believed he could do it in his own way without fully committing to the deal. You can kind of say. Lelouch's case, he wouldn't have needed to rely on anyone but himself and the people he is using. Lelouch wouldn't have had any problems killing off L. I'll say Lelouch would have used Misa's Shimigami in the end to kill Nier and everyone that was in the warehouse, because Light's downfall was exposing his power to everyone like it was nothing, and also trusted in Teru Mikami. I'll say L would have put Lelouch through the ringer just like he did with Light, but the only difference is Lelouch probably would have had Mikami kill off L by maybe reading his real name and having everyone else's name, and had him do the killing without making it seem like Lelouch was Kira. But then afterwards kill Mikami, because Lelouch would have shown Mikami his power first, which would make him the property of Kira. because Lelouch wouldn't have been throwing his power around and exposing himself like Kira did, but instead playing it safe to the vest. Nier would have been the only one that would have cornered Lelouch, forcing his hand, and he couldn't kill him, and the only and the only plan would have been to use the Shinigami in order to kill Nier and everyone else that was in the warehouse. Or Lelouch would have planned out everything to make it seem that Nier thinks it's Mikami standing there, but instead it's the Shinigami that already taken his life. You know, because you know how it was when Mikami was just standing there, he was just writing all these names, but the Death Note was fake. So instead of it being the Death Note and Mikami, like Mikami will still be there, but it's just that the Shinigami is like writing the names and stuff, and Mikami doesn't know what's going on. Like he's just like he's just stupid. He's just going along with it. He's just like, okay, sure. So Lelouch would have either A, used the Shinigami to kill off Nier immediately, B, used Mikami and fooled everyone that he failed but began smiling because he knows that he had a backup plan that the Shinigami Will came in and killed them all. Or C, had someone to impersonate Lelouch to attend the warehouse meeting while the real Lelouch is actually hiding somewhere close where he sees all the names and begins writing it down. And let's say Lelouch never made the deal to get the Shinigami eyes. The results would probably be different, if not the same. Lelouch probably wouldn't have lost to Nier because Light had a lot of Kira supporters, and it would have been easy just to use any of them in order to achieve his goals. Sure, instead of Mikami making the deal, he could have had 2 more people he trusted to have pages of the Death Note and began writing down names in case Mikami was compromised. Lelouch had convinced 1 million people in Japan. Oh yeah, Lelouch had convinced 1 million people to leave Japan. So would you think Light would have done the same thing? Well, almost the same thing. But yeah, Lelouch being in the Death Note series would certainly been challenging if he would have accepted the deal or not. Light in the beginning, he was bored and he wanted to change the world if he had the power to do so. Lelouch wanted revenge on the people who killed his mother and also to build a future for his sister Nanali to live in. So in the end, who's the real devil? And when you think about both of these men put together, it's just like they incredibly smart, right? You can kind of say like their plans to a degree fell apart and stuff because Lelouch's plan, it wasn't for him to, I guess, become like the emperor and then become like the most hatedest person. Like I felt like he thought of that on the fly and stuff because the original plan was lead the Black Knights and then become like the hero and stuff. But like I said, everything kind of like fell apart. And when you look at Light was the same thing. It was just like, okay, God of the New World. He was going to continue to write people's names down in Death Note, and I believe he would have killed Mikami, but things kind of like went south there. So, it just kind of like fell apart. That's why I said both these men have something that's common. It's just that one is dead, and I believe one is immortal. Because I think of the movie that happened, but then I heard some continuity issues that kind of like went south. But so at the end of the day, at the end of the century, who's the real devil? Admitting to
it's murder, go crazy, berserker. I killed it, it's murder, go crazy, berserker. I killed it.